What's up everyone, it's Tensei here, and today we have our third installment of this series where I discuss what different cards are probably going to be in the Speed Duel Battle C box. So, for this part, we are going to be discussing Dr. Crowler and his Ancient Gear cards, of course, which are most of what his deck is. And the first card, of course, is his Ace Monster Ancient Gear Golem. And Ancient Gear Golem cannot be special summoned, and if it attacks, your opponent can't activate spells or traps, and it does piercing on a 3k body, which is not too bad. But yeah, the gimmick of Ancient Gears, or at least a lot of them, is that your opponent can't activate any spell or traps when they attack, which is not a bad effect, but a lot of the better back row in this format, at least now, is stuff like Book of Moon, Offerings to the Doomed, or I don't know, even Uboku. And those just don't care. Like, your opponent can just wait until you get in the battle phase, use Book of Moon, and yeah, you had no chance to apply the effect of preventing them. But who knows? Since we know we're getting Crowler, maybe they'll also add more battle traps to make it like actually worthwhile to use this effect. Notably, if you attack with Golem and activate something like Cosmic Cyclone, that means your opponent can't activate the thing you target with Cosmic Cyclone. So there's some cute tricks you can do with these decks, or these cards rather, but that's not very good so far until we see what else is in the box, I guess. And then next is Ancient Gear Beast. So it's a little smaller, but also it only takes one tribute. And yeah, it has the same first two effects. So can be special summoned and prevent spells and traps. But it also negates the effects of anything it destroys by battle. And I think this is a very cool effect, at least considering the current format we have. So this would stop anything that floats in battle, like Apprentice Magician, or Old Vindictive Magician, yeah, flip effects count here, Zombina, or Goblin Zombie, Giant Rat. There's a lot of good things this can stop, and there's probably going to be more effects like that to stop in this set as well. So a really versatile effect, but of course it's a level 6 and kinda small compared to other level 6 options. But there's maybe a field spell for Ancient Gears that actually helps with that. Then we have once again a Gemini monster like we had with Chaden. So Ancient Gear Knight is a Gemini needing a second normal summon to gain its effect, and the extra effect is the classic Ancient Gear effect. It's not going to be normal summon that much, but it's an Ancient Gear name and an 1800 beater, so it's kinda useful. You can search it with box and just make it 2100 with Ancient Gear Castle. And sometimes you can gain the effect, but that's not too big. It's cool. It's another option for the normal summon line here. And then one of the newer cards that was actually not in the anime and released much later in 2017 is Ancient Gear Wyvern, which adds an Ancient Gear card when it's normal or special summoned, but it stops you from setting cards for the rest of this turn. And then it's a little different actually. It stops monster effects when it attacks. So this is actually kinda huge. It means it stops Sphere Kuribo, and just like Beast, it stops flip effects that activate when the card is destroyed. So it's very nice. This is one of the better cards overall in here. But considering that there are some huge cards for Ancient Gears that I did not add here since they're just too OP broken currently. And since those aren't here, I'm pretty confident with Wyvern. Yeah, cool card. And then this is unfortunately level 5, which makes it a little bad with only 1500 attack. Ancient Gear Engineer negates any trap effects that target this card, and if it attacks, your opponent can't activate spells and traps, and at the end of the damage step it will destroy a spell or trap. So the effects are actually all pretty cool, but 1500 means it won't get over a lot of things. So maybe if our opponent is playing a super passive deck, this is kinda cool, but it won't even get over like Banisher of the Radiance or Beta or Delta, or even it will crash with a White Dragon Head with no equip. So yeah, I'm not too fond of it, but it's definitely not going to break the meta, so it's fine on that front. And kind of a similar problem we have Ancient Gear Soldier, has the standard Ancient Gear effect but only 1300 attack, which means I don't think it beats over anything that's really important, besides maybe like if you change something to defense with Book of Moon or Sphere Kuriboh. But it has the Ancient Gear aesthetic, might as well add it here. Ancient Gear Box is the next card here. It might be a little hard to actually make work with the card pool, but when Box is added from deck or grave to hand, except by drawing, you can add an Earth Machine with 500 attack and or defense from your deck to your hand. So Ancient Gear Workshop will get to add it, or Wyvern, but there's not too many options to add it. But let's say you have it, Ancient Gear Knight and Cannon are legit targets, as well as Gadget. So there's some cool stuff you can add with it, but it might be hard to actually trigger the effect to do that in the first place. Can attribute itself to inflict 500 damage and stop all traps during the battle phase of this turn. Kinda cool, but yeah, also I don't think there's a lot of space to put this into most decks. Ancient Gear gets to special summon itself if you control exactly Ancient Gear, so another card of the same name. Kinda trash. And then, finally for the monsters, there's the Gadget or Gadgetron lineup. So I'll just do like a little segment on all of these at once. Most of you will probably associate green Gadget, red Gadget, and yellow Gadget with Yugimoto, which is something that we don't know when he's coming to Speed Duels, but honestly, there's like a few Ancient Gear cards that specifically require these gadgets, so there's a couple of options here. Either just don't include them, which is maybe what they can do, and yeah, that would be clean then any of these cards won't get added since they need these three to work, except well, I don't know. Maybe the Hydra can actually just work with Ancient Gear Gadget, but other than that, yeah, no, you need these three. But just even outside of Ancient Gears, you can definitely make a Gadget deck work in Speed Duels. But the excuse here is that you need them for the Gadgetron tribute effects. If I were to build a deck, I probably wouldn't do like a Gadgetron themed deck, but that's an option as well. But yeah, a lot of people like gadgets, so I think this would be a great opportunity for Konami to introduce them here, even without the classic Yugimoto. But to quickly look at these cards here, we have the newest card, as in released in a TCG most recently, Ancient Gear Hydra. It gains an effect that if it was tributed with an Ancient Gear and it attacks something without destroying it, you can banish that opponent's monster. So anything with like battle protection from Waboku or a White Dragon Head protected by Z-Metal Tank, you get to banish it. And then if it was tributed with a Gadget Monster, it can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And it gives all of your Ancient Gears the classic effect, plus stopping monster effects. So basically turning all of your monsters into just a combination of Ancient Gear Soldier and the effect from Wyvern, stopping anything like Widespread Ruin or flip effects when they attack. This is a really cool card, but it's a level 7, so you can't like put it out on the field super consistently without some external support. But yeah, I don't think it's too much, since it needs to like tribute 2 for it to become actually viable, and if you just cheat it out with something, it won't do anything too special, just the effect prevention, and that's not too broken in my opinion. Then, well, let's say until we discuss the field spell here, that could somehow make an issue actually. Yeah, then we have another big monster, so Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragon has this standard effect, and then it gains effects by tributing different gadgets. All of these effects kinda suck, to be honest, they just kinda let you do extra damage. But the big thing here is that it's a 3k monster that can be special summoned, unlike Golem, which comes into play with Gear Town. And then Gadgetron Chimera is similar, just a level 6, so needs 1 tribute, and it either gains attack or does extra damage depending on which gadget you tribute for it. Ancient Gear Gadget, on the other hand, will let you stop either monsters, spells, or traps when you attack, so that's kinda useful, like a mini Hydra basically, but you get to choose which one. And then once per turn it can become any gadget name. So yeah, it can become green, red, yellow, making it more easy to manage what effect you want for the Gadgetron Dragon or Gadgetron Chimera. And then yeah, finally all the gadgets add each other, making them a great value engine with backrow support like Offerings and Book. Yeah, a lot of people are familiar with these anyway, I think, unless they only play Speed Duels. And yeah, that's for the monsters. Then the card that I've already mentioned a few times is Gear Town. And Gear Town lets you normal summon Ancient Gear monsters for 1 less tribute. And this is what, in my opinion, makes the deck playable without a skill. I don't want to make too many guesses on which kinds of skills we get yet, at least. It's a little hard to guess since we don't know what kind of a vision Konami has, and there's nothing... Like, these are all existing cards. It's easier to like think, okay, this could work in the format. But I have no idea what kind of a skill they want to give these. Like, something that makes big guys easier, something that protects them. No idea. But let's say they don't get an insane skill. Maybe something like, okay, this would still let Ancient Gears be playable. And yeah, Beast becomes a 2000 normal summon. And that's kinda big still. Yeah, we have like Zombie the Dark, but that has a downside. This mostly has just beneficial effects. And Engineer probably still sucks even if you always had Gear Town, to be honest. And yeah, the bigger issue is actually the second effect. So when Gear Town is destroyed and sent to a grave, you can special an Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And this is why I'm kind of maybe iffy on Hydra and Gadgetron Dragon, because you can just make like Gear Town based strategy without too many Ancient Gears. Let's say use Breaker the Magical Warrior, activate Gear Town, and then use your Breaker to pop your own Gear Town, and that gives you access to maybe Gadgetron Dragon, and that's already 4600 attack on board. Now, okay, your opponent probably has some monster on the field, but maybe you also had like Nobleman of Crossout, or Offerings to the Doomed, or anything like that. Maybe even some new removal cards. That's already game if your opponent has no back row. Now, granted, there are ways to stop this, and it's like a 3-card combo, well, 2-card combo plus removal. But that's kinda huge, and even if you don't kill, your opponent will have to deal with your 3k Gadgetron Dragon. And Breaker is definitely not the only option. Something that was popular in TCG is Magical Hats. And if you use Magical Hats with 2 Gear Towns, you could bring out 2 Gadgetron Dragons, so... Well, okay. That is still weaker than double Moth, but we all probably know that Moth is insane. And you can probably like do this a couple times in one game, since there's no once per duel restriction like Cocoon. Like if you shuffle this back with like, well actually no, you don't. You just need to shuffle back Gear Towns. with maybe Jar of Avarice, and then you can do it again multiple times per duel. So don't even run out of steam after one activation if you really like want to do it. So this is why the Hydra and Gadget Dragon could be issues. Golem and Beast are fine since they can't be special summoned, so Gear Town actually works fine. Wouldn't be a massive issue. And then Workshop just adds an Ancient Gear from hand to grave. That's fine. Probably will get added. It's a good card. You can probably use it, but some people might just not care either way. And then Castle is a 300 attack boost. And if you have normal summoned a monster, actually if either player normal summons a monster, it gains a counter, and you can send this away with counters to use as tributes instead of monsters. So after 2 normal summons you can send this to grave and normal golem without tributes. It's pretty useful, kinda slow but not too slow. It's an easy like turn 3 golem still. And okay. Then we have Catapult, and this is maybe the most controversial card here. I don't think we should have Catapult and Gear Town, since that's also just a 2-card combo to bring out Golem and Gadgetron, since Catapult ignores summoning conditions. Maybe we don't get Gear Town, you could give us Catapult, and Catapult is also, even if it's searchable by Wyvern, it says you need to control no monsters to use it, so you would only have realistically 3 copies, unless you count like setup for your next turn. But it's still like, well, okay, kinda makes you go neg using 2 cards for 1 monster, but the 1 monster you bring out is big. So this is a maybe depending on what else gets added. I don't agree it should be out with Gear Town. And this is in some ways less of a problem than Catapult, but in some ways maybe more of a problem. So this Fortress prevents your Ancient Gears from being targeted or destroyed by effects during the turn they are summoned. So this would mean that if you summon your big golem, you just don't care about books or offerings or Old Vindictive or anything that turn, and this kind of way to prevent interaction is, yes, powerful and probably fun for the Ancient Gear player, but not their opponent. And then yeah, it also stops cards or effects from responding to Ancient Gear cards and effects. So another protection effect, so you can't do much if some Ancient Gear effect activates. And then finally, if you try to destroy this card, the player gets to summon an Ancient Gear from their hand or grave. So realistically, even if you have some options to destroy this, your opponent will just summon something back anyway. Doesn't matter, yeah. Maybe if they don't get a lot of other good stuff, this could be in, but yeah. I do not support adding every card on this list at once. The rest of the spells are actually kinda lame. So Factory lets you banish Ancient Gear from our grave to satisfy a tribute summon condition. So if you banish 16 levels of Ancient Gears, you get to summon a level 8 without tributing. But it's still a normal summon, and you need a lot of setup to make it work. So I don't know, maybe add it, but it's kind of trash in my opinion. Then Drill lets you set any spell card by controlling an Ancient Gear and discarding a card. And once again, this kind of just suffers from the fact that no spell in the game is that good. Like, it's delayed, so even if you had like a good spell card, you're going to be just setting it on the field, and it can't be activated this turn. So if your opponent has any removal, which is easy in any Inner Conflict deck or Union deck or Motho deck, your spell is gone. You wasted resources, and most of you just don't have anything that good. There are no limited spells. Mostly if you play 3 copies of a spell in 20 cards, it's just not too hard to see them. Like overall, you won't see them in every game, but you don't want to play Drill. unless we get something super crazy. That's worth the actual setup. Then tank is just a 600 equip, and if it's destroyed you get to do 600 damage. I don't know, I don't want to play this if it's in, but they could just add it, fine. And then explosive destroys one of your ancient gears and inflicts damage equal to half its attack. So this is way worse in Speed Duels than it already is in TCG, since you can't attack and then finish off with this. But if you play against like a stall strategy, I guess this kinda, well, lets you blow up like Golem, do 15, maybe that was enough to kill them after a Nightmare Wield or something. Yeah, it's bad though. Don't play this probably if it gets added. And then Ancient Gears actually have a few fusion monsters, but some of them are absolutely not okay. That's enough about them. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem though is a fusion of Golem and 2 Ancient Gear monsters. Anything else, just at least one of your 3 monsters has to be Golem. And it must be fusion summoned, which unfortunately means it is not awakening the dragon target. So it won't replace Ultimate Dragon or anything. Then piercing damage, the spell trap prevention effect, and if it's destroyed you get to summon a Golem from your grave ignoring summoning conditions. So this is kinda big, like 4400 and piercing, which means it's almost game just by attacking into a small defense monster, or maybe some cases it is just enough damage if you, let's say, Book of Moon or Sphere something with small defense. But it's a very resource intensive card, like there's really no way to cheat it out, I think, well, barring a skill of course, but usually you'd probably have to use like polymerization and 3 cards, and then it's still vulnerable to Book of Moon or Offerings. Although, well, if it gets Offerings you still summon 1 Golem, but you still went overall neg even if your opponent skips their draw phase. So I think it's overall fine. The only way I currently see it becoming a real issue is maybe if we get Power Bond, but personally, some people may disagree with this, but despite how iconic that card is for both Zane and Cyrus, I am really not a fan of facing an 8000 attack Cyber End Dragon with 4k life points. That's just going to be game whenever it hits. Anyway, well, again, yeah, sure you can stop it, but it's just going to be another flavor of Moth clearing your back row and attacking for massive damage. But 44, that's still like manageable with all the resources it takes. Just the Power Bond makes it a tad too much. Although, on the other hand, if you do Power Bond this and fail, you'll take 4400 damage and lose. But that's just so sacky. Even if they lose it, yeah, I don't think it's fun gameplay to use Power Bond and either just insta-kill or insta-die. Yeah, with Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, we are done with Crowler, and yes, there are some other Ancient Gear cards that could be added, but in my opinion, there are a couple of really trash cards that I just didn't bother adding here, and then a lot of huge Ancient Gear cards that are just too much, like especially like Ancient Gear Fusion. Yeah, that's a way to actually bring out Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem kinda easier, so I would really avoid stuff like that. This should be a huge investment that's kinda glass cannon-y and not something you just like effortlessly bring out. But that's it for this day, and I will go into some new characters next time. So these are all the confirmed characters now. Next time we'll do someone who's not really confirmed, but I think is likely to be in with some of the information we have. But yeah, I hope you like this video. Please subscribe if you want to see more of me and these lists of new Speed Duel cards that could be added. And then, yeah, bye.